All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into contact lenses for kids.
Okay.
And I think this is something that a lot of parents think about, as their kids are growing up. And, we're going to go straight to the source with this one, using the CDC's research on children and contact lenses to sort of frame this discussion and help us navigate this decision.
Yeah.
So get ready, because there's more to this than meets the eye.
Literally.
Yeah, pun intended.
Pun intended, yeah. There's a lot of interesting stuff that came out in this research, and there's a lot more to it than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah, it's funny. I was reading through this research, and for years, I think there was this back and forth about whether kids should or shouldn't wear contact lenses.
Right.
And this CDC research actually paints a surprisingly positive picture.
It does, yeah. It's not just about vision correction anymore.
Right. And for example, there's this one study that showed that kids who wore contacts were 30% more likely to try out for a sports team. I mean, that's not just about seeing the ball better. Right. That's about confidence and participation.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that I found so interesting about the CDC research is that it really highlights these psychological benefits. It's not just about being able to see, it's about how kids feel about themselves when they're wearing contacts.
Yeah. And it makes me think, too, about all those, awkward teen years and how much emphasis there is on fitting in.
Absolutely. And appearance is such a big part of that for kids, especially teenagers.
Right.
And so you can imagine how something like ditching the glasses and being able to, not have that kind of barrier literally and figuratively in front of their face can really make a difference in how they feel about themselves.
Totally, yeah. That's a really good point. But hold on a second. Before everyone rushes out to get their kid contacts, we need to talk about the responsibility factor.
Of course.
Because the CDC makes it very clear that these are medical devices.
Yes.
They're not toys.
Not toys, no. And we can't sugarcoat the fact that there are risks involved.
Right.
Particularly when it comes to serious eye infections.
Right. And this is where you as the parent come in.
Absolutely.
Because the CDC emphasizes that parental support is absolutely key to establishing good habits and minimizing those risks.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this research is that it's not just about the child's decision to wear contacts.
Right.
It's about the parents' involvement in making sure that they're wearing them safely.
So it's a team effort.
Definitely.
And the CDC mentions factors like, the child's maturity level.
Yes.
Their ability to stick to a hygiene routine.
Right.
So are there any specific questions that parents should be asking their eye doctor?
Oh, absolutely.
To kind of gauge their child's readiness for contacts?
Yeah. I think it's really important to talk to your eye doctor about your child's individual needs and habits.
Huh?
For example, if your child has a history of forgetting to brush their teeth, you might want to consider how that translates to contact lens hygiene.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So those are the kinds of things that you want to be talking to your eye doctor about.
Okay, so we've covered the safety basics,
the
importance of parental involvement, but the CDC report also hints at something bigger.
Okay.
Something that really piqued my curiosity.
I'm intrigued.
Which is the evolving role of contact lenses.
Oh, interesting.
And they mentioned this thing called orthokeratology.
Yes. Now, orthokeratology has been around for a while, but the research on its potential is really starting to gain traction.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't eye doctors,
right?
Can you break down what orthokeratology actually is?
Sure. So basically, think of it like braces for your eyes.
Okay.
Essentially, you wear special contact lenses overnight that gently reshape your cornea. And the amazing part is that this reshaping can temporarily correct vision.
Wait, so you're telling me that these special lenses can actually change the shape of your eye?
Yes.
That sounds kind of sci-fi.
It is pretty remarkable.
But also really cool.
Yeah, and while orthokeratology has been used primarily for vision correction, there's growing interest in its potential to manage myopia or nearsightedness.
So could contact lenses actually be used to slow down the progression of nearsightedness in children?
That's the big question researchers are exploring. It's still early days, but the early research is promising.
Wow.
It really highlights how contact lenses are no longer just about correcting vision. They might actually play a role in shaping the future of eye health.
That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really exciting area of research, and I think it has the potential to really change the way we think about contact lenses.
Yeah, it's not just about seeing clearly today. It's about potentially shaping a healthier vision future.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay,
Pretty amazing, huh?
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the practical considerations of cost and responsibility to the potential for contact lenses to be a game changer for kids' confidence and even their long-term eye health. But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on one more point, and this is something that I think is really important for parents to consider,
Okay.
and that is the emotional impact of wearing contact lenses.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about how they can boost confidence and self-esteem, but it's also important to be aware of the potential for negative emotions,
That's true.
like anxiety or frustration, especially for younger kids who might be struggling to adjust to the routine of wearing and caring for contact lenses.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, and it's something that parents need to be sensitive to.
Right.
You know, not every child is going to be ready or willing to wear contact lenses,
Right.
and it's important to respect that.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the key here is open communication.
Absolutely.
You know, talking to your child about their feelings, making sure they understand the responsibility involved,
Right.
and working with them to develop a routine that they can stick to.
And I think it's also important to remember that it's okay to start slow.
Yeah.
You know, maybe your child isn't ready for full-time contact lens wear right away,
Mm-hmm.
but they might be comfortable wearing them for a few hours a day or just for special occasions.
Right, right. And I think it's also important to emphasize that if your child does decide to wear contact lenses,
Yeah.
they need to be diligent about following their eye doctor's instructions,
Yes, absolutely.
about cleaning and caring for their lenses.
That's essential.
Because as we talked about earlier, those eye infections are a real risk.
They are, and they can be very serious.
Right.
So it's not something to take lightly.
So I think the bottom line here is that contact lenses for kids can be a great option, but it's a decision that requires careful consideration
Yes,
and a partnership between the parent, the child, and the eye doctor.
I completely agree.
And you know what's so exciting is that as technology continues to evolve,
Yes.
the options available to us will only continue to grow.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to see some really amazing advancements in the field of contact lenses in the years to come.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, stay tuned, because in our next deep dive, we're going to be talking about some of the latest innovations in contact lens technology.
Oh, cool. I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Sounds fascinating.
But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, I have to admit, the idea that contact lenses could actually help manage a condition like nearsightedness is blowing my mind a little. But let's come back to the present for a moment. What about the everyday impact of contact lenses for kids? The CDC report you shared had some pretty compelling anecdotes about how contact lenses affected kids' lives beyond just vision.
You're right. The personal stories are really striking. For instance, the CDC researchers interviewed a mom who said her son had always been hesitant to join team sports because he was self-conscious about wearing glasses. But after he got contacts, he not only made the soccer team, but he became one of the most enthusiastic players.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's really amazing to see how something as simple as contact lenses can have such a profound impact on a child's life.
It is, and it's not just about sports, is it? I remember reading in the report about a teenage girl who said wearing contacts helped her feel more confident in social situations, like going to parties or even just hanging out with friends.
Absolutely. The research suggests that contact lenses can have a significant impact on a child's self-esteem and social interactions. You know, they no longer have to worry about glasses fogging up, slipping down their nose, or feeling like a barrier between them and their peers.
It's almost like they're seeing themselves and the world in a new light, both literally and figuratively.
Right.
It makes me wonder, though, what about the practical side of things? Let's face it, contact lenses require a certain level of responsibility, especially for kids.
That's a crucial point. The CDC emphasizes that kids need to be mature enough to handle the responsibility of contact lens care, which includes things like proper cleaning storage and knowing when to take them out.
So it's not just about the child wanting contacts. It's about their ability to manage the care routine. What are some red flags parents should look out for that might suggest their child isn't quite ready for the responsibility of contacts?
Well, if your child struggles with basic hygiene habits like washing their hands regularly or keeping their room tidy, that could be a sign that they might need a little more practice before taking on contact lens care.
Makes sense, yeah. It's a good reminder that this is a decision that requires a conversation between the parent, the child, and the eye doctor. Speaking of eye doctors, the CDC report stresses the importance of finding one who is experienced in fitting children with contact lenses.
Absolutely. A child's eye is still developing and their needs are different from those of adults. You want an eye doctor who understands those nuances and can guide you through the process safely and effectively.
Right? It's not just about picking out a cool frame style. So what are some key questions parents should be asking potential eye doctors to ensure they have the right expertise in fitting kids with contact lenses?
Don't be afraid to ask about their experience specifically with pediatric contact lens fitting. How many children have they fitted? What types of lenses do they recommend for different age groups? How do they address concerns about hygiene and compliance?
Those are all great questions. And it's important to remember that communication doesn't stop after the fitting. The CDC recommends regular checkups to monitor the child's eye health and make sure the lenses are fitting properly.
Exactly. It's about establishing a long-term relationship with your eye doctor, one built on trust and open communication.
Okay, so we've talked about the responsibility factor, the importance of finding the right eye doctor, and the amazing potential benefits for kids' confidence and self-esteem. But let's be practical for a moment. What about the cost? Contact lenses aren't exactly known for being cheap.
You're right. Cost is a valid concern for many families. The good news is that there are often a variety of options available depending on the type of lenses, the brand, and your insurance coverage.
So it's worth having that conversation with your eye doctor to explore different possibilities and see what fits your budget.
Definitely. They might be able to suggest more affordable brands or types of lenses, or even discuss payment plans if needed. The key is to be upfront about your financial concerns and work together to find a solution.
That's such a great point.
Yeah.
It's about finding the right balance between the benefits of contact lenses and what's realistically feasible for your family. I mean, it's an investment in your child's eye health and well-being, but it also has to be manageable.
Exactly. It's about making informed decisions that align with your family's values and priorities. And remember, even if contact lenses aren't the right fit right now, there might be other options down the road as technology continues to evolve.
Speaking of evolving technology, I want to circle back to that mind-blowing concept we touched on earlier, orthodontology. It's not just about clear vision, right? It's also about the potential to manage nearsightedness in children.
You're absolutely right. And that's what makes this field so exciting. Researchers are constantly exploring new ways to use contact lenses to improve eye health and potentially even prevent or slow down the progression of certain conditions.
It's amazing to think that something as seemingly simple as a contact lens could have such a profound impact on a child's life, both in the present and in the future.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of vision, self-esteem, and overall well-being.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the practical considerations of cost and responsibility to the potential for contact lenses to be a game changer for kids' confidence and even their long-term eye health. But before we wrap things up, I want to touch on one more point. We were talking about how the CDC report hinted at this fascinating idea that contact lenses could potentially play a role in slowing down the progression of nearsightedness in kids. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
It is. And it's something that researchers are actively studying. In fact, some studies have shown that certain types of contact lenses, like those used in orthodontology, might actually be able to slow down the lengthening of the eyeball, which is what causes nearsightedness.
Wow, so instead of just correcting vision, these lenses could actually be helping to prevent the condition from worsening in the first place.
Exactly. And that could have huge implications for kids, especially those who are at risk of developing high levels of nearsightedness. It could mean less dependence on glasses or contacts in the future, and potentially even a reduced risk of complications associated with severe nearsightedness.
Okay, so it sounds like contact lenses for kids aren't just about seeing clearly today, but also about potentially shaping a healthier vision future.
That's a great way to put it. And it's important to remember that this research is still ongoing, but the early results are very promising and suggest that contact lenses could play an even bigger role in managing eye health in the years to come.
Well, there you have it, folks. We've gone deep on contact lenses for kids. And I don't know about you, but I've learned a ton. We've talked about the potential benefits, the importance of responsibility and hygiene, the need to find the right eye doctor, and the exciting possibilities on the horizon.
And I think the biggest takeaway here is that this is a decision that requires careful consideration and open communication between parents, kids, and eye care professionals.
Absolutely. So if you're thinking about contact lenses for your child, don't be afraid to ask questions. Do your research and have those important conversations. And remember, as technology advances, the options available to us will only continue to grow.
It's a really dynamic field, and it's fascinating to think about what the future holds.
A huge thank you to the CDC for their research, and to you, our amazing listeners, for diving deep with us today. We hope you found this exploration informative and empowering. If you have any burning questions or want to continue exploring this topic, we encourage you to reach out to your eye doctor. They're your best resource for personalized advice and guidance. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those eyes healthy.